Hi, my name's Shipp, and you join me today at the wonderful Barston Lakes near Birmingham. I'll just get this out, get me disgorger a sec, because he's walloped that 8mm krill boilie down. Just go careful, get the hook out. Look at that, right down. That's a typical fish that I caught recently, and luckily I won the British Feeder Championships here at Barston Lakes on this lake. And what I'm going to do, I thought, well, what a great opportunity to bring you back, and I'm going to run you through everything that I've done on that day that I thought give me the edge. One, to keep these fish in me peg, and one of the most important things on the day was to get these fish on the hook. Sometimes we all know, we go out, you have fish in your peg, you get little indications on the feeder, and sometimes they're really difficult to get on the hook. So I'm going to show you all the little tips, how I load the feeder, and everything that I thought made a big difference on the day, and it definitely put more fish in your net. Just going to run you through what I done on bait preparation for my match at Barston. One thing that I used was 24/7 glug. When I come to places like Barston, a lot of carp anglers come here all the time, and you'll find that, you know, throughout the country there's venues that a lot of carp anglers go to, and they do have matches on it. And my thought process with that, I need to make some sort of a smell which is like, basically like the boilie smell. And when I got this, I opened it up and I smelt it, and it's absolutely beautiful. I can't really it's just like you're in the sweet shop basically. So anyway, that's what I put on me pellets, and I also put it in my ground bait. So I'm going to run through exactly what I've done. I've got some normal Thin Perfect 2mm. I've got my pellet wetter here. Really important that you don't mess your pellets up, especially when you're fishing the method. So I'm going to put the whole bag in my pellet wetter, like that. Do that up, just zip it up like that. Now I've got 6 pints of water in that EVA bowl, so it's 2 of them, so you know how much I put in. And on the day I put half a bottle of glug in, so I just put that in the water because I wanted this to soak in to the pellets. And the nice thing about this glug as well, it actually made the pellets sticky, because it's a bit like a sort of a gluteny sort of mix, if you like. So just swish that around a little bit like that, and I get me pellets in my pellet wetter, just push that down in. Now everybody's got their personal preference on how long they sort of soak 2mm. For me, it's like 5 to 10 seconds, especially in the summer like it is today. So 5 to 10 seconds, lift that out, let it drain off. Smell absolutely beautiful. And I thought that was really important on the day. I just felt that it kept the fish in me peg. So shake that off. Now you can see that. I normally just leave that on the grass like that. You know, within 15 or 20 minutes I'll be perfect. But what I also done, this water that's left, I've actually mixed my ground bait with it. So I've got me 50-50 match method mix and chunky fish in the bucket. So I'm going to use that water to mix my ground bait. One thing I love to do on big lakes such as Barston, you know, it's quite confusing sometimes when you go to a big lake. It's big, you can chuck a long way, you can chuck short distance, but one of the most important things is to actually chuck a bomb out and sort of see what you're fishing on. You know, if you go to a venue, chuck a big bomb out, you know, what you don't want to be doing is fishing on a really horrible bottom. And that's what I done on the day. That's the first thing that I done. So I've got my ICS stem on there. It's a beautiful system. I can put a method on that. I can put a bomb on it, a pellet feeder. I can even put a big cage. Now that was really important on the day, but we'll talk about that later in the session. So what I'm going to do, I've got a 45 gram bomb, inline bomb. I'll just put that on the stem like that. Put the cap back on the top. Now that's the first thing I've done. I'm going to cast this out and have a, you know, see what the bottom's like. You know, it could be some gravel. Like I said, the bottom could be really rancid, and that's what I've done on the day, and that's what made me choose where I wanted to fish. But just going through the end tackle really, I've got 8 pound sinking mono, to a 10-foot Superior and a 420 reel. That's exactly what I used on the day. So I've not clipped up at all yet. So I'm going to cast out quite a way, like that. Felt that down. Felt quite soft when that bomb went in. I'm just going to start dragging it back. And there's some resistance on that. And that's what I done on the day. Just give it a nice, oh, there you go. Now felt that then. I felt a bit firmer then. Bit more resistance there. It's not too bad. But you never know on these big lakes, you know, you chuck it out, you might find a little bit of gravel where the carp, you know, where the carp have been feeding. It's always worth doing that. And what I found on the day was when I chucked it out quite a long way, I did actually set a rig up for it. I set up a bigger rod to chuck sort of 50, 60 turns or 50 meters. But I thought when I sort of cast out at like 25 meters, it went in, the bottom felt soft, but it felt nice. It was never catching on nothing. I come back, the bomb was clean, there wasn't no crud all over it, and that's what made me fish there. So I fished on the day of the race. I actually fished 25 meters, and I got my sticks over there ready to go. So that's how I do. That's how I approach these lakes. You know, have a cast out on the bomb, and you never know. You know, just in your mind, you're fishing on the right bottom, nice and clean, and no snags. You know what you don't want to be doing is snagging up on these venues. That bottom all the way back there feels the same really, just nice. So I'm just going to wind that in, and I'm going to cast about 25 meters because that's where I've fished on the day. So just roughly about 25 meters out, just going to cast that in and feel the bomb at the bottom. And that felt quite firm then. It wasn't like a bleh. It was more like you see the tip go like donk. And that's what I fished. You know, that's exactly where I fished. There's no gravel there. I can't feel any gravel. But it's quite nice, you know. I'm not catching on anything. Just bring the bomb back. It's always a gamble, you know, on these sort of things. But I always check my bomb, make sure there's no, you know, black leaves or anything like that. You know, I don't like fishing on that sort of stuff, especially during the summer months. So that's what I've done before the start of the match. You know, it's all gambles when you come to these sort of places, but in my mind, it felt dead right. I've just started exactly how I started the match. I'm just fishing a 30 gram feeder. I thought 30 grams was absolutely perfect. It's one of my favourite sizes, 30 grams. Just a small Dura method, double loading the feeder, and I'll run you through that in a minute. It's took me about 20 minutes to get a bite. I think it's a decent skimmer. Ooh, angry skimmer. And this is exactly how I started the match. So I thought, well, fishing like I am with micros, I always do it on the method. That was probably the stamp of skimmers. I caught an absolute load of them. It was brilliant. Like I said, got a Creel 8mm boilie on, and I thought that'd give me the best chance. You know, I obviously didn't know what was in front of me when I got to my peg, and I thought if I start with 2 mils around the feeder, it's a small feeder to start with on such a big lake. But what I didn't want to do was go and bombard it with bait, because you can, you know, like we always say, you can't take it out. You can put it in, but you can't take it out. And it was a real hot day like today, quite still. You know, when the conditions are like that, just go careful. So what I've done, I've actually double loaded the feeder. So I've got the first layer of 2 mils like that. I then put my boilie in the mould. That's what's so good about this feeder, is I can vary so many different ways of loading the feeder. I've just put my boilie in with a few looser pellets. I'm just going to stick that back in the mould. So you can see that there. Now I know what's going to happen there. These pellets will probably definitely come off before the feeder hits the bottom. But that layer I put on at the start is really firm. And on the actual match, I was bringing bait back on the feeder, just a few micros in the stem of the feeder. And that's what you want. whilst I'm fishing, you know, I'm waiting for my next bite now after that skimmer, but I didn't want to leave it too long. I mean, obviously at the start, you're trying to catch maybe a big carp, you're hoping for a big, you know, a few bonuses, but I just felt in my mind, I didn't want to leave it there too long. I wanted to get a bit of bait in me peg, even though it's a little feeder. So within like sort of, you know, at the start of the match, sort of 5 minutes was the maximum. A little tiny indication then. So that's good, you know, 25 minutes we've been fishing. I'm starting to get indications. That's exactly the same what happened in the match. It took me 20 minutes to get an indication. I always like to sort of start quite negative, if you like, but that the method feeder it can be like that some days. It's not about piling loads of bait in. So I've left it there for a few minutes now. I'm not going to leave it there no longer. I'm going to wind back in. They're ever so crafty, even the bream. You know, you have to be, especially in the summer, at the start, like I said, 5 minutes. Just try slightly different this time. I had a couple of indications, just going to do it slightly different. Just going to put my boilie in halfway. So I'm not going to double load it and give that a real good squeeze this time. And that's what I do. I try and vary it and try and find the best way. Even though it's early in the session. A nice little cast at the clip. Just get that line down. It's nice with that little bit of side wind now. It's got up, it helps you sink the line in really quick. And then I'm always thinking about, you know, what's the next stage. I've got different hook baits. I've got my boilies, got a few different coloured bandems with me. I've got some dead maggots, and I've also got a bit of corn. So, and then I've obviously got my ground bait and my 2mm. So I'm always thinking, you know, when do I change? Do I want to change? And on the actual day of the match, I had a real good spell. After half an hour, I started catching an odd skimmer, and you know, the peg got quite strong. I caught some bream, skimmers. I caught, like I said, I think I caught 2 F1s. They weren't big F1s, probably £2. And then all of a sudden it sort of changed. I was catching quite regularly on a boilie and 2mm, and it went all a bit funny. I cast out like 5 or 6 times, and it just sat there and nothing. I had an odd little tiny indication. You think to yourself, well, is it these little fish coming in? And after about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 3/4, I thought I need to have a cast with a bit of ground bait on. So what I've done, I got myself, like I'm just going to show you now, I got my ground bait mix there. I got a big handful of ground bait, and that's me match method mix and me chunky fish, and it's quite dry. It's not wet, and we'll talk through that when I'm actually loading my feeder, how important that is, because I can adjust that with a little bit of water that I've got on my side tray. And then all I've done then was got a big handful of micros, the 2mm that I soaked up earlier, and mix that around. And you can vary that on the day, but I love putting a few micros in. I just think there's a little bit of, you know, a bit of bait in the water, a bit of grub that they're picking up, and that ground bait makes that cloud, you know, it smells, you know, they smell it, and it's an attractor. And after about, like I said, after about an hour and 3/4, I changed from just the 2mm around the feeder to that 50-50 mix, and I stayed on the boilie because I thought I want to see what happens. I caught a couple, but it wasn't great, and I thought I'll just try maggots. I put a double maggot on, and within 10 minutes of casting that mix out with double maggot, I caught brilliantly. I had a real good spell of, you know, skimmers, bream. I had to keep casting, I had to keep working, I had to keep, you know, if the peg went a little bit funny, you know, sometimes I even actually picked. If it went completely, I'd have 3 or 4 casts with a big cage like that, with a bit of loose ground bait in it, or a 50-50 mix, empty it out a couple of times and cast back out. And that was the way to keep the fish going. It wasn't about putting a massive lot of bait in, it was about making a bit of noise. There we go, there's a bite then. So that's what I say, don't just sit there. And a lot of my method feeders like this, it's quite interesting. Everybody thinks you just chuck it out, but you know, places like Barston with all these bream in, they're crafty. You know, when the carp anglers come and they're spotting in all the time, them bream are so switched on to the noise, the little bit of cloud that the carp anglers are making, and that's what you've got to try and replicate on the method. Like I said, especially in the warmer months. Well, this is my first cast, it went all a bit funny. I've had a few carp. To be honest, it's been really good. I had a good spell, and it's just gone all a bit funny. Just slowed down, started getting a few little indications, and then nothing. I keep winding in, casting out, and I thought I'll just change to me 50-50 mix. As you can see from that bream, look at the size of that, probably getting on for £3. That's on double maggot. And that's exactly what happened in my match. I was getting all this, instead of like getting bites, I was getting a few indications. I keep casting more and more regular, and I thought, right, it's the time now to change to the 50-50 mix and just try double maggot. And that's what's happened straight away. I think the fish are in me peg and they get a little bit choosy. So I've just gone down to a 16, 017, straight off the mag stick system. I'm not messing about. They're all pre-tied up, so I ain't got to mess around. So I've got my ground bait and me micros in there. It's perfect, that. Like I said, if I needed to adjust that, all I do is a few drops of water and get it how I want it, but not too wet. Like you can tell, I can make that bind, so it's going to stick perfectly to the little feeder. So what I've done with that one, just sort of half filled the mould, and you can do exactly the same. But on that last cast, I just half filled the mould, compact it in, get the little Dura method. Lovely, and that's binds perfect. If you really want to, you can compact it in there. If that was too wet, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd actually have the ground bait come down through the cracks of your fingers. But when you keep it on the dry side, it makes a huge difference. I was hoping that I didn't have to change at all, but on the day I had to, or it certainly felt like I had to catch, to keep catching quickly. Not happy that. Whoa. Let's go around the corner again. Be down in the car park in a minute. Come on, don't snag me up in there. Not even that big either, really. Oh, nice ghosty, I think. That's why it's got an attitude problem. No, it's not a ghosty. It's a mirror. That's why you need, you know, proper gear, 8-pound main line. Takes a lot of battery when you're fishing a method, catching a lot of fish, whether you're on a big water like this or just a normal small commercial. I'm not fishing very far out. If I was fishing right out in the middle of Barston, I'd probably have like maybe even a shock leader, but there was no point for how far I'm fishing out. My other rod was for that. Look at that. Nasty. So sticking with that 14 kkm in 019 at the moment. I actually, in the actual match, when I started fishing double maggot with like the 50-50 mix, I went down to 017 that I had from the start. Oh yes, come on, he's ready now. See that nice big pink boy out of his chops. Get in there. Lovely bonus that. Oh, a beautiful fish that is. Let's get the hook out. Get me disgorger. What a beautiful Barston carp. Little Dura method. Double loaded it for that one. Put it on soft. It went, you know, they'll keep changing it now and again. Look at that. Look at the big paddles on him. No wonder it fought so well. Let's get him back, see if we can get another one. Changed over to that 50-50 mix of ground bait and micros. I actually put a little bit more ground bait. You can probably tell from that, because I felt as soon as I'd done it, within 10 minutes of doing it, I've just had literally the bigger stamp bream and catching them a lot quicker. But I've just latched into this Barston lunatic carp. Don't think it's that big, but a lovely bonus, you know, to catch these. Actually caught this one on 3 red maggots as well. Been catching most of the bream, changing over to that ground bait micro mix with 3 red maggots on the hook. So I'm going to get this one in and I'm going to finish the session, because I've had a fantastic, you know, fantastic day here at Barston. But if I stay out on this much longer, I'm going to end up getting sunstroke. What a beautiful fish to finish the session off. Ooh, look at that. Every carp I've hooked have been absolutely lunatics. Can't rush these. I thought I had this one in the net about 30 seconds ago and it took about 40 yards of line off. Oh, here we go. Look at that. You know, every fish in my match the other day was like really important, you know, whether it was a pound skimmer or a 3 pound bream. Just wanted to get everyone out. And it was really nice. I could fish like a 10-foot rod. Like I said, I only fished it 25, 26 meters out. And that's a nice thing about when you pick a distance like that on a big lake, is you can feed it more regularly. If you want to, you know, if you want to chuck a big feeder out, it's nice and easy. And I'm not the greatest of casters in the world, you know. And for me, it was the right thing to do on the day. And it certainly paid off. Oh, yes, come on. Yes. Look at that. What a beautiful fish to finish the session. Stunning Barston carp. Well, I hope you picked up some nice little tips on how I approach these lakes such as Barston. You know, hook baits, how I load the feeder, bait preparation. And I'm sure if you follow my advice, you'll definitely catch more fish like this one. Let's get him back.